Guruji, Shukrana Guruji. Thank you, Auntie, for sharing your experiences. We would like to begin with our Shiv Puran reading for today. As you know, we're reading the Holy Shiv Puran at Guruji Ka Ashram, Somerset, every Monday after the Mantra Jap. Last week we read chapter 15 and 16 of Rudra Samhita. In this we read that Narad requested Lord Brahma to explain him the mode of creation and the manifestation of Rudra, to which Lord Brahma explained that Lord Vishnu provided Lord Brahma with the perfect and supreme knowledge for the creation, and Lord Brahma started his work of creating the Srishti, as we say. Now what he did was that with the water that was already available, he just offered a handful of water as libation, and from that arose a cosmic egg having 24 principles. Now this egg actually lacked sentience. It was a huge or virat egg which did not have any life, and then he performed penance for 12 years meditating on Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu was happy with him and offered to help him. So then Brahma told him the entire thing, that this egg or the cosmic egg lacked sentience, and requested Lord Vishnu to confer sentience onto the egg. So Lord Vishnu went inside the egg with his 1,000 heads, his eyes and feet, and he encompassed the entire egg and touched everywhere on that egg, that is the earth, and brought it sentience, brought it life. Then Lord Shiva took residence at Kailasha. And afterwards, Brahma continued his work of creation. He wanted to create different things. So he first started creating immobile things with delightful mind. Then he started creating different worlds like Tiryak Strota, Arvak Strota, Urdav Strota, and Bhuta Dika Sarga. All these sargas had different kinds of creatures, like one was that were full of misery, that was the Tiryak Strota. The Urdav Strota was the one of divine creations, but it lacked Atman. Then Arvak Strota has humans, and the Bhuta Diga Sarga had various elements. Brahma was not yet satisfied, so he created more of Brahmanical sons that arose from his mind, and he gave them the task of creation, but those sons were they were devoted to Lord Shiva, and they did not take the task very seriously. So Brahma became angry with them, and then again meditated upon Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu enlightened him and told him that you need to perform penance onto Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, when he performed the penance, Lord Shiva appeared as half man and half woman in front of Lord Brahma and asked him what he wanted. So Lord Brahma told him that he wanted him to create more subjects. So Lord Shiva started creating ganas like him. Then Brahma told him to create more of inauspicious creatures who were, scared of birth and death. And to this, Shiva said that he will not create creatures like that, and he left this task to Brahma. Rather, he would become a manifester or guru who would help these inauspicious beings leading a better life, getting rid of their fear of birth and death. Then he vanished from there. In the next chapter, we read that Brahma was still not satisfied with the creations and continued creating more things. He created Marichi, aspirants like Marichi, like Pulaha, Narad, and many more. And in the entire chapter, we read that how these aspirants progenited, and their progeny spread over the world as mobile and immobile. Today we will be reading chapter 17, which is the story of Gunanidhi, chapter 18, which is the redemption of Gunanidhi, and chapter 19, which is the story of friendship of Shiva and Kubera. Shweta Aunty will be reading in English, and Rashmi Aunty will be reading in Hindi. Jai Guruji.
Jai Guruji, Shukrana Guruji for the seva. Bhul Chuk Maaf. Chapter 17, the story of Gunajana. Suta said, O great sages, after hearing these words of Brahma, Narada once again bowed to him and asked humbly. Narada said, when did Shiva favorably dispose to his devotees to go to Kailasha? Where did he have the intimate acquaintance with Kubera of great and noble soul? What did Shiva of auspicious form do there? Please narrate all these things to me. I am deeply interested in it. Brahma said, O Narada, listen. I shall tell you the story of the moon-crested Lord, how he went to Kailasha and how he contracted friendship of Kubera. In the city of Kampilia, there was a sacrificer named Yajnadatta, born of Somyaji family. He was an adept in the performance of sacrifice. He knew Vedas and Vedangas. He was a great scholar of Vedanta, etc. He was honored by the king. He was a liberal-minded donor, and as such his fame had spread far and wide. He assiduously maintained the sacrificial fire and was devoted to the study of the Vedas. His son Gupanidhi was a very handsome complexion and shone like the moon's disk. After the investiture with the sacred thread, he learned all the 8 lores over and over again. Yet, unknown to his father, he indulged in gambling. Ever and anon he took plenty of sums from his mother and gave them over to other gamblers with whom he contracted great intimacy. He eschewed all Brahminical ways and conduct of life. He was averse to the performance of Sandhya prayers and ceremonial ablutions. He began to speak ill of the Vedas, sacred texts, Devas and Brahmins. He did not follow the conventions and injunctions of the Smriti code. He indulged in singing and playing. Actors, heretics, etc. were his beloved friends. Although his mother wanted him to meet his father now and then, he never went near his father. Engaged in extra domestic activities, Yajnadatta used to ask his wife, Dear good woman, what is our son Gunanidhi doing? He is not at home. Then the woman used to say, He has gone out just now. So long he had been taking his bath and worshipping the deities. He has finished his Vedic studies and has just gone out in the company of 2 or 3 friends for the purpose of learning somewhere. The poor woman, in view of the fact that she had only one son, deceived her husband thus. The simple husband did not know anything about the nefarious activities of his son or his bad conduct. All sacred rites ending with Kesa Karma were performed in the 16th year of the son. Thereafter, Yajnadatta performed the marriage rite of the son in accordance with the rules prescribed in Griha Sutras. O Narada, every day the woman with her heart melting with motherly affection used to make her son sit up and gently upbraid him. Dear son, your father is surely a great man, but he is of rash temperament. If he comes to know of your activities, he will beat you and will not spare me too. I conceal your nefarious activities from your father every day. Due to his good conduct and his affluent circumstances, he is honored by all the people. Dear child, a good learning and association with men of saintly character constitute a great asset for Brahmins. How is it that you do not gladly take interest in such things? Your ancestors and grandfathers had all earned the reputation of being good Vedic scholars, well learned in Shastras and performers of sacrifices, especially Somayagas. Shun the company of the wicked people, associate with good men, turn your attention to good learning, and strictly adhere to Brahminical conventions. Emulate your father in form, fame, and traditional activity. Why don't you feel ashamed? Cast off your wickedness. You are 19 now. This girl is 16 years old. She's a good girl. Take her, protect her. Above all, be devoted to your father. You shall respect your father-in-law also, in view of his good qualities and conduct. How is it that you do not feel ashamed of wickedness? Dear son, your maternal uncles too are matchless in learning, conduct and pedigree and other things. You are not afraid even of them. Your parental and maternal lineages are equally pure. See the Brahmin boys of your neighborhood. Even in our house, see the disciples of your father. How humbly do they behave. Dear son, if the king hears of your evil propensities, he will cease to respect your father and may even suspend the regular maintenance allowance. Till now, people used to call your activities the foolish blunders of an ignorant boy. Hereafter, they may take away the traditional title of Dikshita. People will curse and cavil at your father and me, saying such evil words as, "The son has adopted the wickedness of the mother." Your father has never been a sinner. He strictly follows the path of the Vedas and Smritis. Lord Shiva is my witness for the purity of my mind that is riveted to his feet. I have not seen the face of any wicked man after my menstrual bath. Powerful indeed is fate whence a boy like you is born of my womb. Although constantly advised thus by his mother, the wicked boy did not abandon his evil ways. For an idiot indulging in vice is beyond redemption. Who is he that is not broken up by the evil influences of hunting, wine, slander, untruth, theft, gambling, and prostitutes? The wicked fellow, Gunanidhi, used to lay his hands on whatever he could see in the house, a cloth, a base metal, etc., and take it to the gambling den, there to lose the same to his brother gamblers. Once he stole a very valuable ring of his father set with precious stones and gave it to one of the gamblers. He chanced that one day Dikshita saw it in the hand of the gambler. He asked the fellow, "Where did you get this ring from?" First the gambler did not say anything. When repeatedly asked, he said, "O Brahmin, you are unnecessarily accusing me of theft. It was your son who gave it to me. On the previous day I had worn his mother's upper garment. Do not think that I alone was the winner of this ring. He has lost many costly things to other gamblers as well. He has thus given gems, metals, silk, garments, vessels, golden vases, and different sorts of copper and bell metal pots. Every day he is being bound stark naked by the gamblers. In the whole world you cannot see such a useless poor gambler as he, your son. How is it that till now, O Brahmin, you have not realized that your son is a ringleader of the base gambler, very clever in misdemeanor and unfair means?" On hearing these words, the poor Dikshita's head bent down with shame. He covered his face with his head with cloth and quietly slipped back into his house. Yajnadatta, the sacrificer, well versed in Vedic rites, spoke thus to his wife, who was very chaste lady. Tejnadatta said, "O mistress, where is the gambling rogue of son Gunanidhi? Or let it be, why should I ask for him? Where is that auspicious ring which you took off at the time of applying unguents on my body? Bring it quickly and give it to me." The mistress was frightened at these words. While she was engaged in arranging for bath and midday sacred rites, she replied, "O Lord, I am busy arranging the various articles of offering for worship. O Lord, fond of guests, the guests may be unnecessarily detained. While I was busy cooking the pudding, I kept the ring somewhere in some vessel just now. What a pity! I have forgotten it. I do not know where it has been kept." Dikshita said, "O truthful lady, who has given birth to a base boy, whenever I asked, 'Where has the son gone?' you used to say, 'Dear Lord, just now he has gone out after finishing his lessons of the Vedas in the company of 2 or 3 friends for revision of the lesson. Where is your silk sari, red like madder, which I had presented to you and which used to hang down here in the house always? Tell me the truth, do not be afraid. That gem-set golden vase which I had given you is also missing. That tripod with a velvet cushion which I had given you is nowhere to be seen. Where is that bell metal pot made in the south? Where is that copper pot made in Bengal? Where is that ivory casket intended for curios and trinkets? Where is that wonderfully fine statuette of a lady lighting a lamp, shining like the moon, and brought from the hilly province? Why should I unnecessarily speak much? O lady of a noble family, it is futile to be angry with you. I shall take food only after I marry again. I am childless now, since the wicked fellow has defiled the whole family. Get up and fetch me some water. Let me offer libations to him with gingerly seeds. Better to be issueless than have a wicked son who defies the entire family. It is the traditional policy to abandon one to save the family." The Brahmana took his bath, performed his daily rites, and married the daughter of a Vedic scholar the same day. Chapter 18, The Redemption of Gunanidhi. Brahma said, Gunanidhi, the son of the Dikshita Yajnadatta, came to know of this. Regretfully, he cursed himself and set off from that place. After wandering aimlessly for a long time, he, the wicked fellow, felt the abandonment keenly and losing all hopes, halted at a place. He thought to himself, where am I to go? What shall I do? I have not studied much, nor am I rich enough. Only a wealthy man can be happy in foreign land, although he has to face the fear of thieves there. Of course, this fear is present everywhere. I am born in the family of priests officiating in sacrifices. Why am I reduced to this wretched plight? Fate is powerful indeed, controlling all our future actions. I cannot even beg, as I have no acquaintances, no money. Where shall I take refuge? Every day, even before sunrise, my mother used to feed me with sweet pudding. Today, whom shall I beg? My mother too is far away from me. O Narada, even as he was musing like this, woeful, sitting at the foot of a tree, the sun set. In the meantime, a certain devotee of Lord Shiva came out of the city, taking with him various articles of offering. He had observed fast on Shivratri day. In order to worship Lord Shiva, he was on his way, along with his kinsmen, and was carrying different sort of delightful offerings. The devotee entered the temple of Shiva, where he worshipped him in the prescribed manner with sincere devotion. The Brahmin boy, son of Yajnadatta, devoid of his mother and dismissed by his father, was very hungry by this time. He inhaled the sweet fragrance of the sweet puddings and followed the devotee. If fortunately these devotees of Shiva go to sleep after offering the eatables to Shiva, I shall eat these vast varieties of puddings and sweets in the night. With this hope, he sat at the threshold of the temple of Shiva, watching the great worship by the devotee. When the worship was over, the songs and dances of prayer were duly concluded. The devotees lay down and began to sleep. Immediately, the young man entered the sanctorium of Shiva in order to steal the eatables left there. The lamp was burning very dimly. Hence, in order to see the puddings clearly, he tore a piece of cloth from his lower garment and put that piece in the lamp as a wick, thus making the lamp give a good light. Yajnadatta's son gleefully took plenty of the sweets offered as eatables to Lord Shiva by the devotees. With sweets in his hand, he came out hurriedly. In his hurry, he stamped on some person lying there, who woke up immediately. Who is that? Who is running away so fast? Catch him! So shouted the man, who woke up in a voice hoarse with fear. The Brahmin boy, Gunanidhi, who ran for life, became blind, so he was caught and killed by the watchman on duty. O sage, by the favor of Shiva or by the power of accumulated merit, the son of Yajnadatta could not partake of the offerings of eatables made to Lord Shiva. The terrible soldiers of Yama, who desired to take him to Samyamami, the abode of Yama, approached him with nooses and clubs in their hand and bound him. In the meantime, the attendants of Shiva with tridents in their hand and tinkling anklets on their arms reached the spot in an aerial chariot in order to take him to Shivaloka. Shivagana said, O attendant of Yama, leave this righteous Brahmin alone. He cannot be punished since his sins have been burnt off. On hearing these words of Shiva's attendants, the attendants of Yama became terrified and addressed the attendants of Shiva. Yamagana said, O Ganas, this is a wicked Brahmin who has broken the traditions and conventions of his family. He has disobeyed his father's directions and has forsaken truthfulness or purity. He does not offer his Sandhya prayers. He does not take his ceremonial baths regularly. Leave aside his other activities. He has now transgressed and outraged the offerings of eatables made to Lord Shiva. You can see this personally. In fact, he is not worthy of even touched by people like you. Those who consume or outrage the offerings of eatables made to Shiva, and those who offer these to others, the mere touch of these persons, it is said, is sinful. Even poison is not so dangerous when drunk. Never shall a person make use of Shiva's property even if he were to die. It is granted that you are an authority on virtue. We are not. But, O Ganas, if this fellow has at least a bit of virtue to his credit, please let us hear the same. On hearing these words of Yama's attendants, The attendants of Shiva remembered the lotus-like feet of Shiva and spoke to them thus. Shiva's attendants said, O attendants of Yama, Shiva's ideas of dharma are very subtle. They can be observed only by persons of subtle and keen vision, not by people like you whose aim is to only the gross exterior. O Ganas, hear attentively what this son of Yajnadatta has done, which has freed him from sins. The shadow of the lamp was falling on the top of the linga, and this Brahmin prevented it by adding a wick to the lamp at night, cutting a piece from his lower cloth. Another great merit he derived from listening to the names of Shiva, though casually, O attendants. He witnessed the worship that was being performed duly by a devotee. He was observing a fast, and his mind was concentrated too. Let him go to Shiva Loka along with us. As Shiva's follower, let him enjoy great pleasure there for some time. Then he will shake off his sins and become the king of Kalinga, since he has indeed become a great favorite of Shiva. Nothing else need to be mentioned now. Let all of you, emissaries of Yama, return to your own world with contented minds. Brahma said, O lordly sage, on hearing these words of Shiva's attendants, the emissaries of Yama returned to Yama's abode. O sage, they narrated everything to Yama of whatever the messenger of Shiva told them about dharma, etc. Dharmaraja said, O Ganas, listen attentively to what I say. Whatever I direct you to do, you shall do with loving devotion. O Ganas, you shall avoid these persons who bear on their forehead the mark of Tripundra besmeared with white ashes. Never shall they be brought here. O Ganas, you shall avoid these persons who regularly dust their body with white ashes. Never shall they be brought here. You shall avoid all those persons who assume the garb and features of Shiva, whatever their reasons may be. Never shall they be brought here. You shall avoid those persons who wear Rudraksha and keep matted hair. Never shall they be brought here. You shall avoid those persons who imitate the dress or the feature of Shiva, even for their livelihood. Never shall they be brought here. You shall avoid those persons who imitate the dress and feature of Shiva, even for the purpose of deception. Never shall they be brought here. Yama thus commanded his servants. They too agreed to follow his command and remained silent with the flickering smile on their lips. Brahma said, thus freed from the emissaries of Yama, the Brahmin boy became pure-minded and went to Shiva Loka along with the attendants of Shiva. There he served Shiva and Shiv Parvati and enjoyed all sorts of pleasures. Afterward, he was born as the son of Arindama, the king of Kalinga. Known as Dama, he was devoted to the service of Shiva. Even as a boy, he carried on many acts of devotion to Shiva in the company of other children. When his father passed away, he became the king in the prime of his youth. In his kingdom, he spread the ideals and tenets of Shiva lovingly. The king Dama was unconquerable. O Brahmin, he did not stress any act of piety other than furnishing temples of Shiva with lamps in plenty. He called headmen of the villages in his kingdom and asked them to furnish all temples of Shiva with lamps. He warned them that if they defaulted, they would be punished. It is declared in the Vedas that Shiva is delighted at the gift of a lamp to his temples. Therefore, you headmen shall see that the temples of Shiva in your jurisdictions are properly illuminated with lamps. There is no question of hesitation in this matter. Undoubtedly, I shall get the defaulter beheaded. Thus, for fear of him, every temple was duly illuminated. With this act of piety alone, as long as he lived, the king Dama acquired ample prosperity. Finally, he passed away. The impression of lamps persisted in his mind. He caused many lamps to be lighted. Finally, he became the lord of Alaka, the gem-set lamps to his credit. Thus, even the smallest service rendered to Shiva bears rich fruit in time. Let all persons seeking happiness realize this and continue the worship of Shiva. The son of Dikshita never cared for any act of piety. It was to steal that he had entered the temple of Shiva. To serve his own end, he had brightened the lamp there, thereby dispelling the shadow of darkness on the top of the linga. Thus he became the virtuous king of Kalinga. O foremost of the sages, where the wicked son of the Dikshita were the guardian of a quarter. Although he had been a simple man, he became the guardian of a quarter. Thus I have narrated the story of Gunanidhi, the son of Yajnadatta. The story is pleasing to Shiva. Besides, it grants all desires of the listening devotees. O dear one, I shall tell you how he became the close friend of Shiva. Listen attentively. Chapter 19. The friendship of Shiva and Kubera. Brahma said, in the Kalpa called Padma, I created my mental son Pulsteya, whose son Visravas begot the son Vaishranava. He propitiated the three-eyed god Shiva with a very severe penance and enjoyed the city of Alaka built by Visvakrit. When the Kalpa was over and the Meghavahana Kalpa had started, the son of Yajnadatta, Shrida, performed a severe penance. Realizing the efficacy of devotion of Shiva, accruing from the mere illumination of his temple with lamps, he reached Kasi for the illumination of his thought. Under the luster of the gems of the mind, he repeated the mantras of 11 Rudras with loyal devotion and unanswering concentration of the mind. He could realize his identity with Shiva. Then he performed a very severe penance for 200,000 years, a penance which was enhanced by the fire of austerity, was free from encroachment of the firefly in the form of interference from lust and anger, was windless inasmuch as the breath was curbed, and was pure in the form with pure vision. He set up the linga of Shiva and worshipped it with flowers of good ideas and feelings. The penance was so severe that his body was reduced to skin and bones. Then in the company of goddess Parvati, the Lord Vishveshvara himself addressed the devotee. The Lord of Alka with a pleasant mind, the devotee who stood as a stump with mind concentrated on the linga. I am ready to grant you a boon. Choose it, O Lord of Alka. The devotee opened his eyes and gazed at Lord Shiva, the moon-crested consort of Uma, who was shining with a brilliance that excelled thousands of rising suns. Dazzled by the brilliance, he closed his eyes and addressed the Lord of Lords, who is beyond the reach of mental conception. O Lord, please give my eyes the power to see your feet. This itself is a great boon, O Lord. That is, I see you present. O Lord, O moon-crested God, obeisance be with you. O what avail our other boons? On hearing his words, the Lord of Devas, Uma's consort, touched him with his palm and gave him the requisite of vision. Then on securing the power, Yajnadatta's son opened his eyes and saw Uma alone at first. Who is this lady beautiful in person near Shiva the Lord? What penance did she perform more difficult than mine? What a form, what a love, what a good luck, what a fine glory. He repeated these words several times. While he was doing this and glancing cruelly at Uma, his left eye, as a result of seeing the lady, burst. Then the goddess told Shiva, why does this wicked ascetic look at me often and say, you make my penance shine, and seeing me with this right eye jealously, why does he marvel at my beauty, love and good luck? On hearing the words of the goddess, Lord Shiva laughed and said, O Uma, he is your son. He does not look at you angrily or jealously. He is describing your glory of penance. After saying this to the goddess, Isa told him again, Dear son, I am delighted at your penance. I shall give you the boon you desire. You will be the lord of treasures and the lord of Guhayakas. You will be the king of Yaksas, Kinnaras and rulers. You will be the leader of Punyajanas and the bestower of wealth to all. My friendship with you shall remain forever. I shall stay near you, very near Alka, dear friend, in order to increase your love. O son of Yajnadatta, dear great devotee, come on. This is your mother. Fall at her feet with delighted heart. Brahma said, after granting him boons, Lord Shiva told Uma, O goddess, be pleased with him. This ascetic is your own son. On hearing these words of Shiva, Parvati, the mother of the universe, said to the son of Yajnadatta with a delighted mind. The goddess said, Dear son, may your pure devotion to Shiva remain forever. With your left eye burst, you will be a Kapinga having a yellow mark in place of an eye. May all your boons granted to you by the Lord fructify. You shall be called Kubera, lit possessed or ill-shaped body. O son, since your jealousy looked at me, After granting these boons to Kubera, Lord Mahashvara, in the company of the goddess Parvati, entered his Vishveshwara abode. Thus Kubera attained the friendship of Shiva. Very near his city Alka was Kailasha, the abode of Shiva. Shukrana Guruji. Bhul Chuk Maaf. Rashmi Aunty will read in Hindi now.
जय गुरु जी। थैंक यू गुरु जी। यज्ञदत्त कुमार को भगवान शिव की कृपा से कुबेर पद की प्राप्ति तथा उनके भगवान शिव के साथ मैत्री। सूत जी कहते हैं, मुनीश्वरों, ब्रह्मा जी की यह बात सुनकर नारद जी ने विनयपूर्वक उन्हें प्रणाम किया और पुनः पूछा, हे भगवान, भक्तवत्सल भगवान शंकर कैलाश पर्वत पर कब गए और महात्मा कुबेर के साथ उनकी मैत्री कब हुई? परिपूर्ण मंगल विग्रह महादेव जी ने वहां क्या किया? यह सब मुझे बताइए। इसे सुनने के लिए मेरे मन में बड़ा कौतूहल है। ब्रह्मा जी ने कहा, नारद सुनो। चंद्रमौली भगवान शंकर के चरित्र का वर्णन करता हूँ। वे कैसे कैलाश पर्वत पर गए और कुबेर की उनके साथ किस प्रकार मैत्री हुई, यह सब सुनाता हूँ। कांपिल्य नगर में यज्ञदत्त नाम से प्रसिद्ध एक ब्राह्मण रहते थे, जो बड़ा सदाचारी थे। उनके एक पुत्र हुआ, जिसका नाम गुणनिधि था। वह बड़ा ही दुराचारी और जुआरी हो गया था। पिता ने अपने पुत्र को त्याग दिया। वह घर से निकल गया और कई दिनों तक भूखा भटकता रहा। एक दिन वह नैवेद्य चुराने की इच्छा से एक शिव मंदिर में गया। वहां उसने अपने वस्त्र को जलाकर उजाला किया। यह मानो उसके द्वारा भगवान शिव के लिए दीपदान किया गया। तत्पश्चात वह चोरी में पकड़ा गया और उसे प्राण दंड मिला। अपने कुकर्मों के कारण यह यमदूतों द्वारा बांधा गया। इतने में ही भगवान शंकर के पार्षद वहां आ पहुंचे और उन्होंने उसे उनके बंधन से छुड़ा दिया। शिवगणों के संग से उसका हृदय शुद्ध हो गया था। अतः वह उन्हीं के साथ तत्काल शिवलोक में चला गया। वहां सारे दिव्य भोगों का उपभोग तथा उमा महेश्वर का सेवन करके कालांतर में वह कलिंगराज अरंदम का पुत्र हुआ। वहां उसका नाम था दम। वह निरंतर भगवान शिव की सेवा में लगा रहता था। बालक होने पर भी वह दूसरे बालकों को उसके साथ शिव का भजन किया करता था। वह क्रमशः युवावस्था को प्राप्त हुआ और पिता के परलोक गमन के पश्चात राज सिंहासन पर बैठा। राजा दम बड़ी प्रसन्नता के साथ सब और शिव धर्मों का प्रचार करने लगे। भूपाल दम का दमन करना दूसरों के लिए सर्वथा कठिन था। ब्राह्मण समस्त शिवालयों में दीपदान करने के अतिरिक्त वे दूसरों के किसी धर्म को नहीं जानते थे। उन्होंने अपने राज्य में रहने वाले समस्त ग्रामाध्यक्षों को बुलाकर यह आज्ञा दे दी कि शिव मंदिरों में दीपदान करना सबके लिए अनिवार्य होगा। जिस जिस ग्रामाध्यक्ष के गांव के पास जितने शिवालय हों, वहां वहां बिना कोई विचार किए सदा दीप जलाना चाहिए। आजीवन इसी धर्म का पालन करने के कारण राजा दम ने बहुत बड़ी धर्म संपत्ति का संचय कर लिया। फिर वे काल धर्म के अधीन हो गए। दीपदान की वासना से युक्त होने के कारण उन्होंने शिवालयों में बहुत से दीप जलवाए और उसके फलस्वरूप जन्मांतर में वे रत्न में दीपों की प्रभा के आश्रय हो अलकापुरी के स्वामी हुए। इस प्रकार भगवान शिव के लिए किया हुआ थोड़ा सा भी पूजन या आराधन समय अनुसार महान फल देता है। ऐसा जानकर उत्तम सुख की इच्छा रखने वाले लोगों को शिव की भजन अवश्य करना चाहिए। वह दीक्षिता का पुत्र, जो सदा सब प्रकार के अधर्मों में ही रचा पचा रहता था, दैव योग से शिवालय में धन चुराने के लिए गया और उसने सर्वार्थवश अपने कपड़ों को दीप की बत्ती बनाकर उसके प्रकाश से शिवलिंग के ऊपर का अंधेरा दूर किया। इस सत्कर्म के फलस्वरूप वह कलिंग देश का राजा हुआ और धर्म में उसका अनुराग हो गया। फिर दीप की वासना का उदय होने से शिवालयों में दीप जलवाकर उसने यह दिक्पाल का पद पा लिया। मुनीश्वर, देखो तो सही, कहाँ उसका वह कर्म और कहाँ यह दिक्पाल की पदवी जिसका वह मानव धर्म प्राणी इस समय यहाँ उपभोग कर रहा है। तात, यह तो उसके ऊपर शिव के संतुष्ट होने की बात बताई गई। अब एक चित्त होकर यह सुनो कि किस प्रकार सदा के लिए उसकी भगवान शिव के साथ मित्रता हो गई। मैं इस प्रसंग का तुमसे वर्णन करता हूँ। नारद, पहले के पद्य कल्प की बात है। मुझ ब्राह्मण के मानस पुत्र पुलसत्य विश्वका का जन्म हुआ। विश्वा के पुत्र वैश्रवण हुए। उन्होंने पूर्व काल में अत्यंत उग्र तपस्या द्वारा त्रिनेत्रधारी महादेव की आराधना करके विश्वकर्मा की बनाई हुई इस अलकापुरी का उपभोग किया। जब वह कल्प व्यतीत हो गया और मेघवाहन कल्प आरंभ हुआ, उस समय वह यज्ञदत्त का पुत्र, जो प्रकाश का दान करने वाला था, कुबेर के रूप में अत्यंत दुस्सह तपस्या करने लगा। दीपदान मात्र से मिलने वाली शिव भक्ति प्रभाव को जानकर वह शिव की चित्त प्रकाशिका काशिकापुरी में गया और अपने चित्त रूपी रत्नमय प्रदीपों से 11 रुद्रों को उद्बोधित करके अन्य भक्ति एवं स्नेह से संपन्न हो वह तन्मयता पूर्वक शिव के ध्यानों में मग्न हो निश्चल भाव से बैठ गया, जो शिव की एकता का महान पात्र है, तप रूपी अग्नि से बड़ा हुआ है। काम क्रोधादि महाविघ्न रूपी पतंगों के आघात से शून्य है। प्राण निरोध रूपी वायु शून्य स्थान में निश्चल भाव से प्रकाशित है। निर्मल दृष्टि के कारण स्वरूप से भी निर्मल है तथा सद्भाव रूपी पुष्पों से जिसकी पूजा की गई है, ऐसे शिवलिंग की प्रतिष्ठा करके वह तब तक तपस्या में लगा रहा जब तक उसके शरीर में केवल अस्थि और चर्म मात्र ही अवशिष्ट नहीं रह गए। इस प्रकार उसने 10,000 वर्षों तक तपस्या की। तदनंतर विशालाक्षी पार्वती देवी के साथ भगवान विश्वनाथ कुबेर के पास आए। उन्होंने प्रसन्नचित्त से अलकापति की ओर देखा। वे शिवलिंग में मन को एकाग्र करके ठूठे खाट की भांति स्थिर भाव से बैठे थे। भगवान शिव ने उनसे कहा, अलकापते, मैं वर देने के लिए उद्यत हूँ, तुम अपना मनोरथ बताओ। यह वाणी सुनकर तपस्या के धनी कुबेर ने ज्यों ही आंखें खोलकर देखा, त्यों ही उमा वल्लभ भगवान श्री कंठ सामने खड़े दिखाई दिए। वे उदय काल के सहस्त्रों सूर्यों से भी अधिक तेजस्वी थे और उनके मस्तक पर चंद्रमा अपनी चांदनी बिखेर रहे थे। भगवान शंकर के तेज से उनकी आंखें चौंधिया गईं। उनका तेज प्रतिहत हो गया और वे नेत्र बंद करके मनोरथ से भी परे विराजमान देवेश्वर शिव से बोले, नाथ, मेरे नेत्रों को वह दृष्टि शक्ति दीजिए जिससे आपके चरणार विंदों का दर्शन हो सके। स्वामिन, आपका प्रत्यक्ष दर्शन हो, यही मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ा वर है। ईश, दूसरे किसी वर से मेरा क्या प्रयोजन है। चंद्रशेखर, आपको नमस्कार है। कुबेर की यह बात सुनकर देवादिदेव उमापति ने अपनी हथेली से उनका स्पर्श करके उन्हें देखने की शक्ति प्रदान की। दृष्टि शक्ति मिल जाने पर यज्ञदत्त के उस पुत्र ने आंखें फाड़ फाड़ कर पहले उमा की ओर देखना आरंभ किया। वह मन ही मन सोचने लगा, भगवान शंकर के समीप यह सर्वांग सुंदरी कौन है? इसने कौन सा ऐसा तप किया है जो मेरी भी तपस्या से बढ़कर है, जो मेरे भी तपस्या से बढ़ गया है। यह रूप, यह प्रेम, यह सौभाग्य और असीम शोभा सभी अद्भुत है। यह ब्राह्मण कुमार बार बार यही कहने लगा। जब बार बार यही कहता हुआ वह क्रूर दृष्टि से उनकी ओर देखने लगा, तब वामा के अवलोकन से उनकी बाई आंख फूट गई। तदनंतर देवी पार्वती ने महादेव जी से कहा, प्रभो, यह दुष्ट तपस्वी बार बार मेरी ओर देखकर क्या बक रहा है? आप मेरी तपस्या के तेज को प्रकट कीजिए। देवी की यह बात सुनकर भगवान शिव ने हंसते हुए उनसे कहा, उमे, यह तुम्हारा पुत्र है। यह तुम्हें क्रूर दृष्टि से नहीं देखता, अपितु तुम्हारे तप संपत्ति का वर्णन कर रहा है। देवी से ऐसा कहकर भगवान शिव पुनः उस ब्राह्मण कुमार से बोले, वत्स, मैं तुम्हारी तपस्या से संतुष्ट होकर तुम्हें वर देता हूँ। तुम निधियों के स्वामी और गुहाकों के राजा हो जाओ। सुरवत, यक्षों, किन्नरों और राजाओं के भी राजा होकर पुण्य जनों के पालक तथा सबके लिए धन के दाता बनो। मेरे साथ तुम्हारी सदा मैत्री बनी रहेगी और मैं नित्य तुम्हारी निकट निवास करूंगा। मित्र, तुम्हारी प्रीति बढ़ाने के लिए मैं अलका के पास ही रहूंगा। आओ, इन उमा देवी के चरणों में साष्टांग प्रणाम करो, क्योंकि ये तुम्हारी माता हैं। महाभक्त यज्ञदत्त कुमार, तुम अत्यंत प्रसन्न चित्त से इनके चरणों में गिर जाओ। ब्रह्मा जी कहते हैं, नारद, इस प्रकार वर देकर भगवान शिव ने पार्वती देवी से फिर कहा, देवेश्वरी, इस पर कृपा करो। तपस्विनी, यह तुम्हारा पुत्र है। भगवान शंकर का यह कथन सुनकर जगदम्बा पार्वती ने प्रसन्नचित्त हो यज्ञदत्त कुमार से कहा, वत्स, भगवान शिव में तुम्हारी सदा निर्मल भक्ति बनी रहे। तुम्हारी बाईं आंख तो फूट ही गई, इसलिए एक ही पिंगल नेत्र से युक्त रहो। महादेव जी ने जो वर दिए हैं वे सब उसी रूप में तुम्हें सुलभ हो। बेटा, मेरे रूप की प्रति ईर्ष्या करने के कारण तुम कुबेर नाम से प्रसिद्ध होोगे। इस प्रकार कुबेर को वर देकर भगवान महेश्वर पार्वती देवी के साथ अपने विश्वेश्वर धाम में चले गए। इस तरह कुबेर ने भगवान शंकर की मैत्री प्राप्त की और अलकापुरी के पास जो कैलाश पर्वत है वहां भगवान शंकर का निवास हो गया। अध्याय समाप्त। जय गुरु जी।